you made a comment about getting their message right, and then you mentioned something about their voice. And I think this is a great segue into the next piece of the conversation. What is the difference between my message and my voice?
Your message is what you say and your voice is how you say it. So again, you can have a very similar message to somebody else, but you're saying it in a completely different voice. They could have a really professional voice. You have a very informal and casual voice. I mean, it can be something stupid like, you swear, where somebody else is like, just very like buttoned up and polished. So
Yeah.
when you're thinking about this, there's all of these like layers. It's like, again, your message is what you say, your voice is how you're saying it. Then you kind of have the sales aspect like woven into that
Yep.
in terms of like, here's how you need to say it in order to sell. So it can feel overwhelming because you're like tapping your head, patting your belly, and like jumping on one foot as you're trying to like create this sales content. So really, again, like take the small bits and pieces, and it's kind of like muscle memory. Once you figure out what your voice is, and I think the best way to do that is figure out genuinely like how you talk to clients, because you don't want there to be a disconnect between how you're showing up on social media and then
Yeah.
somebody gets a discovery call and meets you and they're like, you're not what I thought at all. Like that incongruency can really cost you sales. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that it's like you and like a really you-ier version of you when you're on social media. So when people do meet you, they're like, yes, this makes sense, So
Yeah.
but once you figure out that voice, it just kind of naturally becomes how you speak and how your business speaks. And so it doesn't feel like as much work, where maybe like the sales messaging side of things has to be like, okay, this is how I'm thinking about this, and saying that.
Yeah. A more I love the a more you-ier version of you. In your videos over on TikTok, you talk a little bit about uh, channeling the energy that you want your client or customer to feel before you're creating your content. Uh, how do you determine kind of what key elements or key energy types that you want to have in your content or with your voice? Um, like remembering that, like I am trying to make a more you-ier version of me,
Right.
but when you start turning that dial up, like how do I keep from how do let me rephrase this question because it's getting messy. How do how do I turn the dial up so that I can become a more you-ier version of me without distorting who I am?
That's a great question. And I think that comes with like balance and practice. I know that like I've swung certain ways and then I'm kind of like, swung back the other way where it's like I need to have so much energy. And then I'm like, it's one facet of my personality to have like
Right.
cheerleader energy, but it's also facet of my personality to like be a little bit more like sarcastic and like laid back
Mm.
energy. So I think that there is like that can ebb and flow as you find your flow, but it also can ebb and flow a little bit in videos. You still want to be you and have that like consistent thread throughout your video, but you can almost like use whatever types of content you're creating or the idea behind your content and like have that dictate a little bit of how you're showing up. Again, you want there to be consistency, you want it to be you, but you really can use your content to show all the different sides of your personality and the different facets of you. Controversy is like always a fun one to play with because you're gonna get some attention. You need to be prepared for that.
Oh yeah.
But I think that people like shy away from that because they're afraid of what happens on the other side of it. But
Yeah.
again, if you're showing up authentically as you and you do have an opinion that, may trigger some people, like
Yeah.
be sure that's the hill you're willing to die on. But like, and then if you can pull yourself out of it and be like, okay, I'm going to utilize this to get some eyes on my brand. I'm going to
Yep.
like basically put myself in front of the firing squad so that I can reach the people that I need to reach. Like I may take some, some shots as I'm doing it, but at the same time, like it could be worth it. So
Yes.
it's a gamble, but that can always be like a good way to do that too.
Absolutely. When Bud Light dropped their Mulvaney campaign, I did a couple videos on that, and I took
Mhm.
some shots.
Yeah. Oh, you will. You absolutely will. And it's, again, you've got to like be prepared for that. And if you know going into it and you can prepare yourself and be like,
Yeah,
this is going to happen. When it does
absolutely.
happen, you're like, people on the internet, man.
Yeah,